Welcome into Other People's Shoes. I'm your host, Neil. I just want to give you a preview of today's episode. Now, I do have to let you know this is an explicit episode only because of the content we will be discussing is of adult nature. So if you're not able to handle it, I completely understand. But I hope you would give my guest, Uriah, his moment to explain his story. And just be aware, we're going to be talking about emptiness and how deep that can really be for somebody and how challenging that has been for him. Are you ready? Because you know I am. Let's go.
Hey, come take a walk with me. Not like you usually do. Do something different and put yourself in other people's shoes. Open up your mind and open up your eyes and change your direction, change your perspective.
Welcome into Other People's Shoes. I'm your host, Neil. I'm here with, I would say, one of my newer friends / coworkers. It is weird how this guy and I came across each other's paths. We work for a company. Again, I love the mystery of saying this. The company will remain nameless. But we do work together, and I've gotten to know this guy over the last year or so.
Yep.
I don't know a ton about him, so I'm going to let him introduce himself, and we'll go from there. So go ahead.
My name is Uriah. I work for the unknown company that won't be named, and I'm going to answer some questions and give you my insight to how I handle certain situations. So let's see how this goes.
Now, Uriah, you and I... we do work together. We work in the same department.
Yes.
Which is weird.
Unfortunately. I say unfortunately because they should not be the same department.
Really?
No.
That's probably a conversation that we should have sometime. So, with that being said, I'm always looking for a great story. I'm always looking for some great people to have great conversations with. And you and I have been paid in a sense to have great conversation because we've had a lot of conversations on the clock, and this is our first one technically off the clock. Mm-hmm. But I gotta say, part of the reason why I wanted you to come on the show was I really like some of your insights on stuff because, and this is gonna maybe come as a shock to you, because it's so strikingly different than mine. Mm-hmm. And I like that because I want that different perspective. And that's the whole reason why I started this show is because I wanted not to hear my perspective or hear things I've always grown up hearing or grown up understanding, but I wanted to have a new, fresh filter. So on the onset, here's a disclaimer. I don't know what he's going to say. We have not practiced this ahead of time, right?
No.
In fact, would you even admit you don't even know I'm going to ask you?
Mm-mm. I have no idea.
Okay. We are going to be talking about a subject called emptiness. That's the only thing you know, right? Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that?
Yep.
Okay. So with that being said, you ready to jump in?
Sure.
Ready to get in the water, as they would say?
I don't
know who says that, but I just maybe made up a phrase. Okay. So how would you describe the feeling of emptiness?
It's kind of like not knowing who you are or where you belong. Is kind of the easiest way to sum it up without touching the many factors of depression and all that other stuff that it has to do with. But generally speaking, I would say that there's no identity because of something that happened to you that took your identity from you.
Have you yourself ever experienced any form of emptiness or anything like that?
Yeah, all the time.
What does that look like?
Personally, for me, it is... suicidal thoughts and depression, and it doesn't help I'm bipolar, so I get both sides of the twisted realm of emptiness.
Now help me out, because I mean that the phrase bipolar, right? Mm-hmm. I almost feel like it's a catchphrase now in our society, like, oh, I'm bipolar, so that almost gives individuals kind of some extra margin in their life, some extra leeway, margin, leeway, kind of the same thing. But it almost seems to me almost like a catchphrase. But what you're saying is it's not just that. There's more to that.
Yeah.
A
lot of people use bipolar to justify whatever actions they're feeling. they go do something crazy and they go, well, it's my bipolar kicking in today. No, that's not how it works. It doesn't work that way. I was told by a therapist, I don't know, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, something like that, that I was bipolar. I went to somebody else and he goes, yeah, you're bipolar. And they tried to put pills and stuff down my throat, and I refused to do that. So the difference between somebody that actually, I would say, has bipolar than to somebody that just uses the phrase is it's an ongoing thing every day.
Could you describe it?
So
for you, obviously not, maybe not for someone else, but this is just for you.
So it's like a light switch. So, and it can be anything that makes the lights go off. So at one moment I can be elated and happy and excited. And because of a trigger, I am now manic depressive, or I'm in a depressive state where I'm thinking of I'm worthless or I feel empty, you know? So it's not something that you can just control. It can just happen. So over the years, I've had to teach myself how to recognize triggers before, so I don't get into a manic state. Just like this conversation with you and I. And this, I have an idea of where we're going, just from the questions you've asked me.
Sure.
And so,
well, that's good in a respect, because I would never want to put anybody in an uncomfortable situation.
And so, right. So bipolar kind of is like, I was excited to come here because because I like you and I like to hang out. And now I have to not let myself go into anxiety and go into a spot that makes me feel awful about myself or makes me feel empty, because I'm going to have to relive a couple things through this conversation.
Okay. Okay. I don't have a response to that, which is kind of rare, because usually I always have a response.
I'm probably going to leave you speechless a couple of times.
Okay. Here we go. It's always good to start right out of the blocks. I love it. We're off to a good start. Why do you think people feel have this sense of emptiness and feeling of emptiness? Where do you think that comes from? So I know I kind of gave you two questions. Why do they feel that way, and where do you think it comes from?
I think people feel empty when they lose something, or something traumatic happened to them to make them lose a sense of who they are themselves. And I think that answered both those questions, I think.
Okay.
I can't, it's hard to speak for other people. I'm honestly, when it comes to all of this kind of stuff, emptiness and depression and all that stuff, I'm a rare breed, to be honest. I have been studying myself since I was 16. I've read books. I've kept countless journals, and it has kept me pretty much sane. And I haven't succeeded with suicide yet, and I hope I don't. So, but not everybody can do that. So it's hard for me to speak for other people.
Well, absolutely. And I would never ask you to speak on behalf of someone else, because that would break the whole point of what we're after. Mm-hmm. I really want your perspective, your thoughts. I mean, right, we're walking in your shoes, not so to speak someone else's shoes, but we're walking in your shoes. So that's good. So, and I'll try to make it more, but I also want to get your opinion about others. So, why do you think people are feeling so empty why do you think people are feeling so empty that they can't reach out to someone?
Because they're scared.
Okay.
They're scared to be judged, because people are judgmental, especially when you go to them, with a problem, or you go to them and say, look, I'm having a hard time. I don't know why, but nothing seems like it's doing anything for me. I'm not getting any joy out of what I'm doing. You know, I used to love to write, and now I hate to write. So something's going on. And society has this way of putting people that do that to try to get help and that try to open up to their family and friends, to shun them. So people are scared. I'm scared. There's one person that I talk to, and that's my wife.
So that's what I was going to get into, if you're willing to walk that road. Were there ever moments in your life where you couldn't reach out to someone?
Yeah, my whole life, until I met my wife. That's no joke.
Why did you feel that there was no one?
So when I was a kid, I was molested by somebody, and it was me and 6 other guys at the same time. Not at the same time, but it was all happening to us during the same point in time. And then I tried to say something, and it didn't go over so well. And nobody else, when my dad went and asked all the other kids, they all denied it. So I was the liar, right? I was the one that wasn't telling the truth out of 6 or 7 other boys. So fast forward to 23 years old, I got in touch with a local detective, and we had to live through that. And so over the course of getting to where I'm at now, where I just kind of do things my own way, I've learned how to do things my own way. I've learned how to treat myself kind of in the sense of like a drug addict. I have to recognize my triggers, that I have to recognize what makes me angry, what makes me sad, what makes me feel whatever people experience. And I have to recognize them and fix them before they become reality. So I'm constantly in check all the time. My family wasn't really there. It was kind of a, oh, that's too bad. Oh, okay. Well, we should, why? Or it was all this stammering, and there was no legitimate, like, hey, dude, like, what can I do? It was just put out. And then when I was 23 and had to relive all of that again with Detective Sandler, I had nobody. At the time I was married, and that was, she judged me for a lot of stuff. So I had to learn how to deal with that on my own. And then I've just really never had anybody. I've just done it myself. I prefer to do it myself because nobody knows themselves better than yourself. If you were going to look in the mirror and say, I have a problem, who's better to fix that problem than yourself? So if you're struggling with something and you're like, hey, I'm like super depressed here, Dad, something's going on, what's he going to tell you to make you feel better? Oh, I love you, son. It's okay. We all go through tough times. Nah, it don't help people. What helps people is somebody that goes, I have a problem. I need to fix myself. That's why I've preferred to kind of do it on my own. It is a little sad that I didn't have the support. And even now, I have my wife, but I don't let her in on everything because I can fix it myself. I prefer to. But sometimes it gets a little much. The older I get, the looser our heads become, and our thoughts tend to wander a little bit more the older we get. So I have to kind of lean on her when it gets really tough.
So first off, thanks for sharing that. I know that's probably pretty tough. So
not really.
Well, for me it was. I mean,
it was pretty easy, man. I've through a lot of people that I open up about like that, I'll talk to anybody about it. I'll tell you my story.
Yeah, but I mean, again, like I said at the onset, I mean, we know each other, but I mean, it's not like we like hang out together every day, outside of work. I mean, we're getting to that point, but no, I mean, I appreciate you sharing that because I mean, as much as it was easy for you, it was kind of tough to hear.
So to
but may I interject one thing? Okay, how old were you when the abuse took place?
6.5.
6.5.
I remember the day that the guy came into my life. I remember the day he was driving a 1990 red T-Bird.
Wow. So what year is that?
I was born in 81, so it was like 89.
Okay, so
like
89.
Yeah,
okay,
like 88, 89.
Just trying to put it in perspective.
Yeah, somewhere. I think
I always like to give dates and years and stuff because for me, it helps my brain and maybe even others put it in a kind of context of how far now we have traveled or how far you.
So it's been 30 years.
You have traveled 30 years.
It's been 30 years. So it was. I'm gonna say pretty firmly 88.
And not to dwell on that too much, but to some follow up questions if I can.
Mm-hmm.
Did the guy serve jail time?
He just got out.
He just got out.
Yep. And a week before he got out, I tried to blow my head off.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Emptiness sucks sometimes.
So do you think, and maybe you have cognizant memory of this or not, I don't know, as you mentioned, as we get older, in your structure and your thinking and your studying is that, we lose some of that as we get older, which I think is true. Because I can't remember some stuff like I used to. Some stuff I'm real good about, but other stuff I can't. But do you remember ever feeling that sense of emptiness or the bipolarness prior to 6? Do you have any, like I said, any cognizant memory of that? or in your opinion, do you think that the abuse that took place is what triggered all of where you are now?
So before,
and we're not playing a blame game per se,
Yeah.
but
so before that, my parents weren't rich. They weren't, they were working, and
both lived at home, right? No
Well,
divorce there, or was there a divorce?
I don't remember when my mom and dad got a divorce. I don't
Okay.
remember. But my dad's a solid dude. I mean, I can't say anything bad about him. He's a solid dude, and my stepmom's, she's a solid mom. So, but before all the abuse took place, the only thing I really remember, I spent the first 2 years of my life in the hospital. So I've died 3 times. I didn't have an immune system. So I have 4 years, really. So I don't really remember anything. I remember dirt bikes because that's what I did. I raced dirt bikes. And I was a pain. I was just a little bratty little 6-year-old. That's it.
So, I mean, but you have some fond memories,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, did you race dirt? You raced them too?
I was
Okay.
racing when the guy showed up.
Okay, so you're
I was already
racing dirt
racing.
bikes. Are you winning some trophies?
Yeah.
Are you getting some accolade
Yep.
for that? Do you ever remember feeling like it was false or any sense of like, yeah, I won, but I still feel like a piece of trash, basically?
No, it's hard to say.
Okay.
That was a long time ago.
Okay. I guess what I'm trying to figure out, I guess what I'm alluding to
When I
is
noticed,
is that did the abuse heighten that or maybe even cause that?
so I think actually my problems kind of started, the issues kind of started about the time I actually said something. So, and that was, I'm pretty sure I was 12, and he made a move, and it didn't work out so well, and I punched him. And that was the last time I ever went to his house. Well, after that, I remember sitting on my bed and running razor blades over my skin because it made me feel good. And that was a release for me. I don't know. At the time, I had no idea where it was
And you're
coming
how
from.
old?
I was 12, 13.
Oh my gosh.
And at the time, I didn't know where it was stemming from. I had no idea. All I knew is when I did it, it made me feel good. And it made the emptiness full, and it made the hurt to go away. And so that was a method I used for coping for years. So and then when I was about 13, I took about 350 ibuprofen at one time, and I had to have my stomach pumped, and I had to go to the emergency room and stuff. And I'm not sure. That's kind of foggy. I just remember feeling hurt for some reason. And, I was speaking of triggers earlier. I think the fact that my girlfriend at the time broke up with me triggered me, and it made me feel alone, and it made me feel vulnerable. And that's one of the things that I have to be careful with, is feeling vulnerable. And the next thing you know, I took 2 handfuls of ibuprofen, and I walked out, and I looked at my dad. He had a bunch of people over, and I looked at my dad and I said, I'm probably going to die. I just took 2 handfuls of ibuprofen, and I walked away. So I think that's when it all kind of started.
But there would some would say, I'm not saying this, but I think some may say, oh, he was just doing that to get attention. Oh, he's just, he's just a troubled kid. Oh, he's just adolescence. He's still trying to find his way. He's not, his brain's not fully developed yet. I mean, there could be all these things that you were attention seeking kid, whatever. I mean, what would you say to all that?
I would say, come wear my shoes.
That's good. I like it. So,
No,
show plug there.
No joke. I would tell that person.
I know sometimes we need a little laughter for levity, but yeah,
I would
get
tell
what you're
that
saying.
person 100%. Let me sit down and tell you my life, because it wasn't just I was molested. My mom was murdered, and I've had kids taken out of my home for what they've done to my other children. So it's not like I've had this peachy keen. Everything in my life has been revolved around despair and hurt and loss, and I am still here. And I still smile. So I would tell those people that take a step back, and you need to take a step back, because you don't know what you're talking about.
It's interesting, your name. I mean, you don't have a run-of-the-mill name.
No.
I'm going to try to transition, then we'll come back to some stuff just to give some levity for a moment. I like your name. You, however, I don't think love your name, right? Am I wrong in that?
I hate it.
Why do you hate it? Because I think I know, but maybe others don't. And so
So-
this will give somebody some insight into you as well. So
Okay.
why do you hate your name? I mean, I know some obvious reasons, but I'll let you tell, and then I'll go. How's that?
Okay, so it's very trivial why I don't like my name.
Okay.
So I get irritated super easy, and I think everybody should be smart. And when they don't get smart, it irritates me to the brink that I turn into a shit. Excuse my language. And so if somebody goes, "What's the name for your order?" and I say Uriah, and they go, and then they don't ask me how to spell it, and they hash my name. They just wreck it. Okay, that's irritating. That's why I don't like my name, is because people can't just simply go, "How do you spell that?" They don't have the common decency to just ask me.
That's why you don't like
That's
your name?
why I don't like my name.
Okay. That was not at all what I was guessing.
That's why I don't.
Okay. So Neil, how many versions do you think there are of Neil?
Neil.
Right. There's the KEEL version, KENEEL version, the Neil, like you're kneeling on the
Oh
ground.
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Different words.
I can't spell, so I was really like trying to spell that in the air like they taught me in elementary school. There's the NIEL version, and then there's the NEIL version, and then there's the NEAL version. I mean, there's a variation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's not as bad, but I do get it misspelled quite a bit. I thought you didn't like it because of this reason.
What?
Your name's biblical.
No,
It appears in the Bible, though.
I know. It means God is my light.
Is that what it means?
Yes.
I never knew that.
Uriah was the Hittite.
Well, I know Uriah was the Hittite, and that's what I was saying is that when I look at the story of Uriah the Hittite,
It's kind of sad.
little Bible story,
Yeah.
right?
It's
Right?
sad.
I mean, you know the story, right?
Yeah.
King David's up on the roof,
Yeah.
sees Bathsheba, thinks she's hot, she's
Yeah,
taking a
So
bath.
he has me killed. That's
He-
awesome.
He has her come to the castle. They have relations. The next day, a couple months go by, I guess. She comes back and says, "Oh, BT dubs, I'm pregnant." And he's like, "Oh, snap. Let's get her husband home," which is Uriah. Gets him home, gets him drunk, right? Tells him to go home. Go home with your wife. Go have relations with your wife. He doesn't because he's a dude. He's a noble dude, right? So he sleeps out at the door. He finds out, no, invites him back to the castle again, gets him drunk again, tries to get him back home again. Nope, still doesn't work. Sends him back to the battle with his death certificate, essentially. And
Puts him on the front lines.
Puts him on the front lines, and everybody backs away, and he dies.
Yeah, Bathsheba was also the most beautiful woman in the Bible, from what I was told.
Yes. That.
So
Yes.
no, that's not why I don't like my name.
I thought
just
that's why.
No, I don't like my name because people don't say it right, and they don't spell it, and they don't have the courtesy to ask me,
Okay.
and they just assume,
Right.
And usually when I go out, my name's Ryan. It's just easy.
I always give fake names too.
Older women know my name, which is odd. But older women, if they're like, "Oh, what's your name?" I'm like, Uriah. Oh my God, that's so beautiful.
I couldn't spell it, by the way. Like I can't spell half the time anyway, but my spelling's awful.
And then Uriah Faber, the UFC fighter.
See, I don't know.
And
him.
see, he's tough, right? The Huntington Beach bad boy or whatever they call him. And so now I get that from the younger people. Like, they'll be like, "Oh, you like Uriah Faber?" I'm like, "No, it's the same, but it's spelt different, and I'm way tougher than he is."
Way tougher.
That's not true, Uriah. It's not.
It's not true. So back to this little segue there little adventure we went on. How true would you say a person's feelings are? Or maybe a better way to say this is, how true are your feelings?
It depends.
Okay.
It depends on the situation.
Okay.
I have to evaluate my feelings, and I have to justify why I feel that way. And most of the time I can't. Most of the time I'm irritated for some trivial reason, but I'm still irritated. And so I have to figure out if the emotion of anger that I'm feeling is legit, and if I should really be upset. So for me, it depends on why I feel the way I'm feeling. You know what I mean? If somebody's like, "Oh, you're gay," right? That bothers me just because of my past. But it's trivial. So I have to consciously make that decision on, am I going to act on this? Am I going to act on how that made me feel, or am I just going to understand that was just dumb? So it just depends.
Okay. Do you feel like our feelings can lie to us? Or more specifically, can your feelings lie to you?
That's a tough question. It depends. I think that comes down to what you're passionate about. It depends on that. That's your. For me, it's to single that out is kind of tough because I think for me, I can't answer that. That's a hard question to answer because that's a tough question to answer.
Okay. You don't feel like they could ever lie to you? Like they could ever mislead you, make you feel something that maybe you're really not feeling?
Mm-mm.
Or do you think they're all bringing truth to you?
So let me think about that for a second.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about how I feel right now because
Okay.
I'm doing what I'm telling you right now as we talk.
Good.
Because every time you ask me a question, it triggers something. So I have to put it back in where it goes. I have to put it in the dark with the bad guy. So I would say my feelings don't lie to me if I catch them. If I catch them and I have the time to fully understand what I'm feeling, then they won't lie to me. But there are those ones that sneak past the gate and I react, and it usually isn't very good. But 99% of the time I can catch it.
So would a great phrase be, you really have to take every thought you have captive?
Yeah, I think that would apply to everybody.
How so?
Because if you say something to somebody and it offends you, or you get offended, excuse me, and usually when we get offended, we get angry. Angry is the first emotion that we feel.
Even though most people would say anger is a secondary emotion?
For me, that's the first thing I feel. Because it's a little backwards.
It is a little backwards.
Because anger makes me feel good. It lets the guy in the dark smile and come out a little bit, and I like that. But I have to babysit sometimes. But what was your question? I digressed for a minute.
You did, but that's okay. So taking every thought captive.
Yep.
And how important would you say that is? And you were kind of alluding to the fact that it is important, that you have to take every thought captive, and everyone should take their thoughts captive.
If it's regarding your feelings, then yeah, you should pay attention to your thought, because you're going to get triggered. So there's a process of how it works. There's A, B, and C, and somebody like me, we just go from A to C, and B is thinking about what it is that you're feeling. So A is the emotion, B is thinking, C is outcome or decision, however you want to say it. Personally, I have a tendency of having the feeling, and I don't think about it, and I do go straight to C. So yes, every thought that is associated with the feeling that you're having is very important, because if you forget the B in ABC, you just made a mistake, and that mistake can hurt you and others.
So going back to this, because obviously you have experience, and I think that's part of the reason why I brought up the biblical account of the name Uriah.
Oh, I haven't gotten into why I don't like churches yet.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
Okay.
I want to tread this very lightly, Neil, because I know how you are.
Wow, how I am? Wow.
Well, not how
judging.
you are. I meant I know your
No,
beliefs,
I
and I don't want to offend you. But if you want me to express why, I will gladly tell you. That's up to you.
Okay, we'll see what happens. We'll see where this goes. But part of the reason why I brought up the story of the biblical account of Uriah and David and all that, because again, when I first met you, that was the first thing that jumped into my head. It wasn't the UFC fighter. It sure as heck was not learning how to spell it, even though I still struggle with that. It wasn't any of that. And that was even really before you and I had too many conversations. But then as we started to have more conversations, I started to figure out more and more that this guy Uriah, in my mind, and I would even echo this with you as far as the same sentiment, is you both are very courageous people from what I see. You both have a sense of loyalty, a sense of heroism, right? A sense of doing the right thing, a sense of you just want to be a good worker and do your best, right? And that's what I think of when I thought of your name. And so with that respect, I thought you would be a great source of trying to maybe even perhaps help someone out. And so that's what leads into this next question, is to say, how would you help someone with no joy, no happiness in their life? What advice would you give them?
Let go of whatever it is. So,
But that sounds simple, right? Like I have a cap in my hand, right? A water bottle cap in my hand, and I just let it go, and it's gone, right?
Well, let me elaborate on it.
Yeah,
It's
thanks.
easy to say,
Right?
from somebody that does it every day. But the first thing I would tell you, if you personally came to me and said, dude, I'm just not happy, dude. I feel like my life there's no point. What am I doing this for? And I would say, dude, you got to let go. And then I would sit down and I would talk to you, or whoever else is listening. Sit down and find somebody that you trust, even if it's just you and you got to stare at yourself in the mirror. Sometimes the best person to have a conversation with is yourself, and figure out the underlying problem. If you're not feeling joy, you're not feeling happy, there is a reason for that, and you have to find it. And once you find it, you can fix it. If you realize, I don't feel joy, and you have this conversation with your sister, your brother, your friend, or yourself, or a journal. It might take you a week, it might take you years. But once you find it, then you go, okay, this is what I think this is. Even if you just guess. If you go, you know what, this is because my dog died and I wasn't able to say goodbye. I have this feeling of loss. Or I feel empty every time I see a dog, right? If you find that, then you have to look at yourself. Nobody can tell you how to do it. This kind of goes to my single perspective on all of this. It's a lot of self-awareness. It comes down to, how bad do you want it to go away? For me, I wanted it to go away. I got tired of cutting myself. I got tired of feeling the way that I was feeling, even though I still have bouts of feeling the way that I used to feel all the time. I don't cut myself anymore. I don't hurt myself anymore whatsoever. So, but to get there, it took years, because that's what I wanted. So if somebody is like, I'm not happy, either find the underlying problem on why you're not happy, or find something that makes you happy, no matter what it is. As long as the motto for me, and I think everybody should have this, outside of religions, outside of what you believe, outside of what everybody tells you to believe: smile, spread love, and be happy. And do whatever makes you happy, as long as you're not hurting people. It's that simple. So if you're not feeling joy, but chewing on styrofoam makes you feel joy, but it's not hurting you, it's not hurting anybody else, then do it. If that makes you happy. Because at the end, death comes to everybody. We can't hide from it. So the biggest thing that everybody has to understand is, from the moment you realize, this is it, this is going, this is the one path that I have, this is it. Once I meet death, it's over. Then it changes your perspective. And you go, okay, well, I'm not feeling joy, but why? And some people can go, I don't care why. This is all I got. I got one journey. I'm going to be happy. And you just force it upon yourself. Others, it takes more diligence. You have to take the time and figure out what it is that's causing that. And once you figure it out, you meet it in the boxing ring and you take it on. And one of the biggest things that you have to do to overcome anything that you're having struggles with, whatever it is that you find that makes you feel empty, you have to be prepared to look it in the face and say, I forgive you. I love you, but I forgive you.
That's some sound advice. So leading into this, and maybe you kind of answered it, maybe not, but where do you find your source of hope when you're feeling hopeless? Because you alluded to the fact that obviously sometimes, a lot of times, I have a filter, and it's a Christian filter. It's a church filter. By the way, just to clarify for you and me and everyone, I actually don't like the word Christian.
No, I'm not. Yeah. I'm not.
No,
labeling
and I
you.
know, and I know you're not.
You
no, I know you're not. I'm just saying, and I'm declaring that, just not only between you and I, but whoever's going to hear this,
right.
is the word Christian only appears 3 times in the Bible. The word disciple, a whole lot more than 3 times. So just to clarify. But for me, it's not about me right now, but if it was, I would say, my source comes from my faith. My source comes from my wife. My source comes from my daughter. My, sometimes my job, depending on what I've done. That's where I found my identity, my hope, my existence, my identity. But what about for you? Where does that hope come from when you're feeling so hopeless? Because there have been times that you felt hopeless, I'm sure, right?
Mm-hmm. I actually, it kind of, to not digress too much, but it comes in stages. It happens 3 or 4 times a year. And sometimes it's really bad, and sometimes I'm in a funk that only lasts for a while. But I just got out of one. I was having thoughts of suicide again, and self-harm, and I just felt awful. Nothing had any purpose to me at all. I just was empty. And after doing what I do, I found out that there was absolutely no justified reason for me to be feeling that way. So that's part of bipolar. I mean, it can just come up and whenever it wants to, and manic depression can just kick in whenever it wants to. I have PTSD too. Is kind of, they all work together. Those 3 little men work together to torment me sometimes. But where do I get hope? I am not religious in any means. I don't do any of, I used to be, but the guy that molested me ruined that for the rest of my life. And as I got older, I realized that.
It happened in a church setting?
Well, no, not in the church, but everything that he did and everything he made all of us little dudes do, it was pray before dinner, read your Bible, what'd you read about in your Bible, don't forget to go to church on Wednesdays, go to church on Sundays, go to church on Saturdays. And he did the evil that he did, he shrouded it in the name of God in my eyes. So that, this is I don't want you to be offended, or anybody else that may believe in God. But how dare him allow that to happen to me? How dare him let an innocent boy or boys, that come to find out the guy actually was doing this stuff since he was 21. And when he was 21, when we were going through the investigation, he got a phone call from somebody down in California. And when he was 20 or 21, he forced an 11-year-old boy to rape his 9-year-old sister. So the dude was sick. And all of it would happened under the guise of the man upstairs. But so I admire people that have hope and faith. I admire it. I admire you. I admire my dad. I admire my wife. My wife, we're completely black and white when it comes to that. I find hope in memories. That's all that I can find hope in. Because when it happens, when death knocks on my door, I will welcome him with open arms. I'm not scared to die. I'm scared to not leave positive memories. So the hope is that every day I create a memory in somebody that will last forever. Because that's the one thing out of everything that we have, our cars, our houses, our characteristics, our morals, how we treat people, everything comes down to one defining thing, that when we die, we only leave memories. So I hope, and it makes me happy to know when I make somebody smile, because they're never going to forget it. And it gives me hope that when death comes, people will stand around and they will talk about me and how I made them smile. Jennifer will talk to me about how I made her not commit suicide. These other people will talk to me about how I helped them with their addiction and how they overcame being raped by their brother. Those are memories that those people will have for the rest of their lives. And then they're going to tell stories. So if you think about it, and the way I look at it, it goes back to like the biblical era, because people didn't keep history back then. It was all, I forgot what it's called. You might know what it's called.
Orality?
Is that what it's called? Where people don't write things down?
It's oral tradition.
Yeah,
it's
oral
considered
traditions.
Orality. Mm-hmm.
That is, I believe in that.
That's how they passed a lot of the stories that we have nowadays. Mm-hmm.
So you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
And that is kind of how
Native Americans are really big on that too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Go Cherokees. So, yeah, I'm quarter Indian, so.
Nice.
Yeah, that's kind of where I get hope, man.
Okay. So I want to touch on something really fast, and then we're going to play a game, and then we'll wrap up the show with the game.
Okay.
So here's one I want to just go back to just for a quick sec. You mentioned the fact that it sounded like, and I never want to put words in someone else's mouth, so I'm going to try to redigest what you said, but it sounded like you were saying God was to blame for what happened with you being molested because he didn't stop it. Yes or no?
Well, I might make a lot of your listeners mad. Yes.
Okay.
And he's to blame for all the children that were molested in the Catholic Church. He's to blame for a lot. This is a different conversation between you and I.
It really is, and it
But
could jump into another episode.
And it can, because I have some valid points, and when it comes to religion, or beliefs, or God, or Ganesh, or whoever it is you believe in, I absolutely love the conversation. But most people can't have that conversation because they get offended, and because I don't know why, but there's this, well, you can't tell me I'm wrong. Well, you're hurting my feelings, and I honestly absolutely enjoy the conversation. And I, this is one of those hoping things. I hope that somebody changes my mind, because I'm telling you, it would be a lot easier to just be like, whatever, he'll have it. It'd be a lot easier than to do everything myself. So I welcome the challenge.
So we'll segue to that perhaps, because there is actually an episode coming up that I have taped already, future episode called Faith, and it is done by somebody who just, in my mind, made a dramatic change from where they were to now walking in being a disciple of Jesus. Again, not using the Christian word, but walking as a disciple of Jesus, and how Jesus met him, changed his life, changed his direction. And it's actually a guy we work with, believe it or not, across the street, by the way, from our main building. So longtime friend of the show too. Nice. But I think it would be a great flip of the coin, because again, he's given his biblical perspective on why he made those decisions.
Oh, you mean like a triangle conversation?
No, I'm saying like you would then do the opposite.
Oh yeah,
because you have an opposite stance.
I do. I listened. I have.
So segue, Faith Part 2 now on its way.
Just so you know, I was thinking about you driving over here because I'm listening to a band called Ghost.
Nice.
Have you ever heard of them?
I have not.
Okay.
Little plug for them, maybe.
You won't like it. Don't listen to it. Please don't. Neil.
We won't put any disclaimer.
No.
This will not be in the show notes.
If you haven't listened to Ghost, I urge you to. They're a satanic band.
Yeah, probably not then.
But it's not like you think it is. It's not like, anyway, that's a different conversation, because there's a lot of things that make a lot of sense. All I can say when it comes to me, it doesn't matter your color, your creed, your religion, what you believe in. I don't care if you pray to furniture. I don't care. If you love people and you spread love to people, and you spread kindness to people, and you have it in your heart to be nice to people, I don't care. That's all that matters to me.
So I'm gonna stand up for a second, because I want you to read the back of my shirt, if I can not spill things. And what does it say? Kindness matters. Yeah.
So maybe you might know this. So you might know this. Sorry, I repeated that. So yesterday there was a car at Walmart, and it said something about he's on the white horse, ascending from the heavens to judge and wage war. Do you know that?
I do. It sounds. I don't know the exact verse.
That's exactly what it said.
And if you're going based on that, it could and very much sounds like Revelation.
Okay. It just strikes me as odd why somebody so full of love, peace, and passion want to wage war and kill people.
Well, and again,
different time.
We're gonna plug Faith Part 2 right now.
I'm intriguing your listeners to follow up with that one.
We're gonna go to Faith Part 2 with Uriah, so stay tuned for that. But we're gonna close the show. By the way, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
I want to, before we go to the game, I want to say that, and we've gone a really long time, but that's okay. My editor will love this episode. Cut this part out, Gary.
I wouldn't cut anything out.
Just kidding. Don't cut anything out. Cut that part out that I just said cut out, but then start again when I say right now. Right now. Now we're going. First off, I want to say thanks for coming on, because I know some of the stuff we talked about, even though you in your mind probably thought we were going to go that direction, I really had no intention of going that direction. I really didn't.
No, I thought we were going to talk about my friend that died.
We could talk about that too, but I really just wanted to hear your perspective on this emptiness idea. And I think you covered it. But the other part of it is you really talked about some stuff, and I know you're comfortable talking about it because so much time has passed since the abuse and since all of that. But for me, hearing that firsthand, hearing that raw emotion in you, man, that was awesome. So thanks for sharing that, because you didn't have to.
No, we can talk, dude. Anytime, if you ever get a message from a listener that says that they want more information about this kind of stuff.
Well, and that's what I was just going to say. I know you're I know you're not famous per se. Like you don't have like a ton of Instagram. You're not, you're not out promoting, how to, avoid this or counseling people on that. I know you don't do that professionally right now. Maybe one day down the road. Maybe. But I do appreciate that if somebody were to hear this, somebody were to say, "Hey, I've gone through that. I'd like to get in touch with them." I'd love to obviously, float them your way or send them your way.
I think when it comes to abuse, just statistically speaking, 1 in 6 men have been abused, and they don't say anything because there's a stereotype from society that when you're abused and you're a man, that you are going to hurt other children. I have been told to stay away from children because I was abused, and they didn't want me to abuse their child. I've been told to stay away from children. I've been told I can't be trusted around children. I've been called, excuse my language, but a faggot, not to offend gay people, which hurts my feelings because I don't care, but it hurts my feelings that you would call me that because of what happened to me. There's been some awful things that have happened to me. That's why men don't come forward. But if you were listening right now from the bottom of my heart, if you have been through that, get a hold of Neil, and Neil will find me, and I will talk to you, and I will do everything I can to help you. I just actually helped somebody recently. They read some stuff on my Facebook, and it was actually at work. And he goes, "Dude, this is at work, but I have to ask." And the next thing you know, we talked about it. And he got in trouble, but he was keeping me close to him. So if you've been through it and it's a hard time, I will carry your pain with you. Or if you can't carry it, I'll carry it all for you. I can do it. I've been shut down in this town. I've been told, no, we only handle women that have been raped. I've been told, no, men don't need the help. They need to get over it. I have tried to do things in this town, and I've gotten the door shut in my face because I'm a man, and we should have known better.
Well, and again, I say that on the onset too, and even a little bit of a, not even a disclaimer, but that's part of the reason, again, not knowing we were going to head that way, but kind of glad we headed that way, as weird as that sounds, because glad from the standpoint of you've walked through it, you've experienced it. That's the whole point of my podcast, is to get people to walk where someone's walked, to experience what they've experienced, and to, give a different perspective on life and some understanding. And that's my goal. And I think we've accomplished that today. So first off, thanks for letting us walk in your shoes.
Yeah,
by the way, what size are they?
These are 11, and they are gold standard Adidas Superstars.
Nice. Leaving a shoe plug in there. I've added in, I've started doing that at the end of the show to kind of wrap things up. So we're going to play a game.
Okay.
Got our dice here. Got our North Carolina Baby Blue Cup, just like always.
Sports.
And, I know you're not a sports guy, but I am.
I know
so you're going to roll the die.
Okay.
Die, not dice. I was corrected last episode. It's a die. Yeah, roll it. What'd you get? You got a 4? Yeah. Ooh, this is going to be fun. So this is a game I like to call Senseless. Senseless. And so you're going to answer some senseless questions, and here we go. Number 4 is one thing you love to hear. What's one thing you love to hear?
One thing I love to hear?
Yes.
I love you.
Why? I mean, obvious reasons, but...
Because I didn't get told that a lot. I love to hear it I love it when men tell me they love me. Not in a weird way.
No,
don't take that the weird way, but because it shows when a man says, "Dude, I love you," it shows that their guard is down. They have let you truly into who they are. You know what I mean? There's only a handful of men that I tell I love them to, and it's because they are me. They are everything. They don't know certain things about me, but when a guy lets his guard down and he's comfortable enough to go, "Dude, I love you too, buddy," that is amazing.
Wow. All right. Well, Uriah, thanks so much. Guys, stay tuned for future episodes. This is, of course, Other People's Shoes. Thank you for giving us a chance to look at a different perspective and some understanding.